Hey folks, welcome back to our Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Back to the Jungle. Back to the Jungle is brought to you by Tempo Games. It's for 2 to 4 players, ages 6 and up, and games range anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. In Back to the Jungle, you play a brave explorer traveling halfway across the world because your main concern is conservation. You're going to be reintroducing a group of chameleons back to the wild and freedom. However, you will have to help these chameleons as they explore their new environment and learn the lay of the land, helping them consume food and kind of establishing their hold on this area. However, as you're helping them and aiding them to their freedom, you must not lose sight of them. Alright, so this is very much a family-friendly game and definitely geared towards kids, and it's got a memory component to it. However, unlike other memory games, this one has a little twist to it, and you really have to keep track of your chameleons as you move along. And the goal here is to be the first explorer to have your chameleon eat 4 different types of insects, or empty the bag of chips. Alright, so the game sets up very quickly. You have 4 boards which create the overall larger board, and you have these chips in the bag. Now there's some different types here we're going to take a look at, but mostly these ones that are green with the leaf on the back are the main ones you're focused on to put out on the board. And you're going to find the snake chip in the bag. You're going to put it to the side and then draw randomly 7 more chips out of the bag, mix them all up, and place them out on the board in this configuration. So the game has 2 modes to it. For younger players, you can play with the chips face up, known as the day mode. And the heart of the game though, the main game, is the night mode, where all the chips are placed face down and you have to remember where things have moved and where your chameleon is. Alright, so these green leafy chips that we just laid out have some different qualities to them. We have our 6 different types of insects, which is the main thing you're trying to eat as the chameleon. And you have the snake. You have to beware of the snake because it will chase your chameleon off the board if you run into it. And you have things like rocks and tree branches. However, tree branches are ways that you can swing across the board using your tongue as you grab on. Now, there's also berries. And why are berries important? Well, berries are the points you're going to receive for the game. There are individual berries on their own, but the insects you eat will have berry points, as well as there are objective tokens we'll take a look at next. So at the beginning of the game, you will also find and isolate the different chameleon tokens. They're also green leafy tokens, but each chameleon is a different color. You'll divvy these out to the players. Now, back to the objective tokens, which are black. You'll take a look at these and you'll hand them out to the individual players, giving each player 2. And on the back of these are ways to get additional points at the end of the game. They're kind of like missions that you're on as you're scouring and eating different types of insects. In this case, in this example, we've got a pair, so every bee and spider that you acquire, you get 2 extra points. So all these tokens, all these different missions, basically, give you different point totals. Some are very easy and some are more complex. Now, in the night mode of the game, you have a couple other chips that you can place in the bag if you so choose. Now, you have the wind chip and you have the snake chip, and these are going to basically affect the board if they come out of the bag. Now, the wind chip allows you to swap 3 combinations of chips. So anywhere on the board, they can swap position. And the swirly snake allows you to take one of the 4 quadrants here and turn 2 of them 90 degrees. So again, with everything face down, you have to remember and pay attention to where your chameleon is. And then the last couple things to look at is that each player gets a player board outlining each turn, as well as showing the effect of eating some of the insects. And then there's a set of tokens. These are basically event tokens. So when something happens, you may trigger an event where you'll get a token that blinds your chameleon for the next turn. So gameplay here is very straightforward. The first thing you're going to do is, if your chameleon is not on the board, you'll bring it out to the edge face down. And then you have a couple options. You can either look at 3 chips that are face down, so you get kind of an idea of what's out there, or you can choose to move chips up to 3 spaces. So you can use that in any kind of combination you want between 1 and 3 different chips, but they move to their adjacent spaces. And you also have the option to swap 2 adjacent chips and use that as one of your movement. Now it's important to note that if you did choose the C option, then you will have done that in secret. You don't want anybody else at the table to know. You're just peeking at those tiles, so you're not going to reveal them to the other players. Now, next up, you're going to reveal your chameleon. Hopefully you remembered where your chameleon is, because this is where you're going to try to eat insects. And if you don't remember where it is and you flip a non-chameleon, then you're not going to be able to eat anything. But you're going to reveal your chameleon and then reveal whatever chip you wish that is next to it. Hopefully you know what's there. You reveal the chip and there will be potentially a star on the chip based on the type of insect it is, or potentially some other things. But those will trigger events, and we'll take a look at the different events here in a minute. But just know that this is where that event will trigger. And then because of your movement, other chips that are adjacent to you and the revealed chip are going to scatter. They are frightened by your chameleon. And potentially they could be so frightened that they fall off the edge of the board. And that could even include other players' chameleons. So that's one of the things you'll check for to see what fell off the board, because that player will then gather their chameleon and hold on to it until it's their turn and place it back on the board. So the next step then would be for you to actually eat the chip and pull it and put it into your area, because you are collecting these things after all to gain points at the end of the game. And potentially it might not be something you can eat, like a rock. In this case, you will flip the tile back over and you will not collect one this turn. And then finally, you will reach into the bag and place a random chip out on the board. Again, that's one of the ways the game can come to an end, is the chips in the bag are emptied. And if you happen to choose the C option, you get to choose an additional chip to put out on the board. All right, so now let's take a look at some of these different events. And again, there are 6 different insects that could trigger all kinds of different things, as well as the snake. But let's start with the snake, because the snake is the thing, if you reveal, it's actually going to scare your chameleon off the board. It's going to run off, and that player will have to place it the next turn. So again, causing you not to eat anything. And then there's the spider. If you reveal the spider and you go to eat it, you also get to eat an adjacent chip. Now, if you reveal the butterfly kind of acts as a wild for scoring at the end of the game, when you're trying to fulfill your different mission tokens. So if you reveal a caterpillar, you have a couple choices. You can either eat the caterpillar or choose to eat one of the chips that are adjacent, face down, adjacent to the caterpillar. Or you might reveal a fly, and the fly gets up in your eye, and then you'll receive one of these tokens that will prevent you from seeing any chips in your next turn. But you are after 4 different types of insects, so you might need the fly. And of course, the firefly is super powerful. If you reveal a firefly, then you get to reveal the chips adjacent to the firefly. It lights up the area after all. You get to see what those are. Or you might reveal a bee. The bee will then sting you, but you can still collect the token. You just can't eat on your next turn, and you'll receive an event token showing that as well. And then there is the log. You can use your tongue to leap over the log and change your position on the board. Now, if you happen to run into another player's a chameleon, well, you're actually going to be flicking your tongue out and hit them in the eye, preventing them from seeing anything on their turn. And so the game end triggers again if one player receives 4 different types of insects. That will also give them a bonus points, 2 bonus points. There's a token for that as well. Or if the bag of tokens is emptied, that will also trigger the game end. And then you finish out one more round, and whoever has the most berry tokens is going to win the game. And if there's a tie, well, then you'll share the victory. All right, folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, and everything you've seen here has been in prototype form. So keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now, with that said, we played this a bunch with some kids over the weekend, and they really enjoyed it. I think the concept of just the fact you're a chameleon eating insects and collecting these really nice, heavy poker chips really just resonated with them. But what I thought was that the fact that it's a memory game, but with a nice twist to it, not just revealing 2 different tiles and trying to matching them, I just thought that worked really well with the kids and just as a family game in general. But really folks, ultimately, if this looks like something of interest to you or your family, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it from me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando, in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.